Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, waking up, feeling fantastic, having a great start to your Sunday, and I hope you all been having a great weekend out there so far. Appreciate y'all folks tuning in this morning as we try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise for your day. There's multiple features to speak on in this morning's video that's going to impact a lot of people's weather. So we will speak on all of them. We still got a lot of weather out in the Rockies, the Pacific Northwest. We have little pieces of energy just kind of flying across a dip in the jet in the middle of the country. We have a lot of warm, moist air, well above average temperatures that you're waking up to this morning and that you will be dealing with pretty much throughout the entire day. For the southeast and the eastern U.S. as a big time moist air mass is in place. Got some snow falling in portions of the Great Lakes region. We'll speak on that. And then we have a winter storm on the way for sections of the interior Northeast, really speaking on Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But the I-95 corridor, like southern New England, this is just going to be good old rain for you folks. So we'll speak on all this. At the end of the video, we will give you some information from overnight on what we talked about in last night's video. Guys, I do think we have the potential, at least, for a significant storm system as we get maybe into next weekend. So we are going to talk a lot on that as we get closer and closer. The details will begin to emerge a little bit more each day we get closer to it. But that will be a heavy topic in my videos coming up. So just want to let you guys know ahead of time. But we will speak on it for the end of the video, but then give you some better information in the next video on what's to come and just continue to keep you guys updated with the changes of this. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below and I will definitely pray over those prayer requests, and I promise you a whole lot of other people will too. The video last night was it did very well, probably one of the most successful videos that I've had in the last couple months. So welcome to any new subscribers. And thank y'all for the amazing support. So let's get rolling this morning. Let's wake this thing up, and she is good. So we're good to go. So you can see what's going on out here pretty well. So you have a storm track that's basically taking the storm systems right into the Pacific Northwest. Big jet dip right into here, dips down to the middle of the country, and then it shoots right back up. So along this, you got pieces of energy. I wouldn't even call this just a piece. It's a pretty large area of energy that's producing a lot of heavy precipitation, higher elevation snow that we've been dealing with over the last several days into the Pacific Northwest. But as a ridge really begins to move and take over the western U.S. and eventually the central U.S. as this ridge is moving this way, this will become just in general a warmer system. So even the higher elevations that have been seeing a ton of snow over the last couple of days will actually just be dealing with good old rain over the next, I would say 48 hours. But you see a piece of energy right here. There's some energy right into here that you barely can see. And you can see it pretty well here as you see the watercolors on your screen. Energy over the Great Lakes where this is actually falling in the form of snow will actually connect with this area right into here that's screeching across, and there's a lot of moisture that's already overtaking this morning portions of the mid-Atlantic, moving into the Northeast as I speak right now. So there's enough cold air in this region right up here for this to fall in the form of heavy, wet snow. So there's actually winter storm warnings up for portions of Maine. But everywhere else, you know, you're just dealing with a very moist atmosphere down here. I know I'm just doing check marks, but I think that's just the best way to do it here. But this is what's going on. You can see it pretty well with the jet digging down here based off the water vapor loop. I mean, it's just going like this, coming down, then it's going like this. And this is a moving pattern. So this little quick jet dip will eventually affect the Northeast, kind of replacing the atmosphere that's been very moist with a shot of drier air, but it's not going to bring a big time cold front by any means. And then this ridge, like I said, will move into this portion of the country, the central portion. So that's what's going on off water vapor loop. Let's get this off your screen and keep moving here. What is actually falling out there? There's a lot going on. Okay, let's get this back in motion. It likes to glitch out on me sometimes. But man, just good old-fashioned rain. I mean, it looks like even the Olympic Mountains You're still waking up in the higher elevations with some snow, but eventually it'll just be plain old rain out here. Just a good old rainstorm that just continues to the Pacific Northwest. A lot of rain out here. Idaho's still dealing with some snow, and the higher elevations of southern Idaho continues to get a good bit of snow. And you see this little system right here? This will actually very slowly drift across the middle of the country, eventually getting all the way to like northern Missouri overnight. And we will speak on this. Could do something interesting. But there's some moisture up here in Montana falling in the form of snow where it's colder, just rain where it's not. And yeah, big area of snow falling this morning in Wisconsin, and rain switching to snow in areas of Michigan. Not a very cold storm, but you're into that time of the year where, you know, you can be well above average up here and it's still cold enough for snow. Big plume of rain moving into areas of the Northeast, and there's enough cold air still kind of locked in place up here in northern Maine for this to fall in the form of some heavy wet snow. This will be kind of a 1-2 punch today. First area pushing through. This area will move through behind it and will provide a burst of even heavier precipitation. And in between this, with a low going over southern Ontario, you're going to have a brief severe weather threat for areas of western Pennsylvania today. And we will speak on that in this video. Some moisture in the southeast. Guys, the forecast was a complete bust, especially in South Carolina, areas of Georgia yesterday. And I think today is going to be another day where not a lot of rainfall. I'll even admit, previously I thought the Carolinas, especially South Carolina, was going to be a complete washout this weekend. Man, we didn't even get measurable rain yesterday here in my neck of the woods in central South Carolina. A lot of people are kind of irritated with the local meteorologists, and maybe even me. I don't even know. Nobody's sent me any hate mail or anything like that. But it was a bust. The biggest bust probably in like a couple months as far as a forecast here in the Carolinas. But it just happens sometimes. But a risk of severe weather today. Very interesting cold weather setup in Pittsburgh and just western PA, maybe even extreme eastern sections of Ohio. What we call a cold core setup, typically associated with what we call an upper level low. And I don't think there's going to be much of a tornado threat with this today, if any at all, but it's below 2%. Doesn't even show up on the map. But the wind threat, there will be a little bit of a risk of some damaging winds. Hail threat, though. This will be interesting. You know, I definitely think we will see some small hail from these storms today. When you have cold air aloft, okay, that means the temperatures are much colder above our heads where we sit at the surface. So hail is easily obtained in these storms. So I definitely think we could get some hail. Watch out Pittsburgh and just points northward. We need to watch out in all these communities in western PA for some hail with some of these storms today. So the excessive rainfall outlook, you got flood watches up here for a reason here in western sections of Oregon and Washington, but you do have that slight risk, which means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in a given location. So you guys are aware of how much rain you've already got. You continue to get more over the next 48 hours. And speaking of the flood watches, there they are scattered about in several counties up here in the Pacific Northwest. You got a lot of wind alerts, high wind watches in Montana, these are high wind warnings. These are high wind watches in areas of the Dakotas, kind of going down the sections of the Rockies. You got winter storm warnings up also, just scattered about across the higher elevations of the Rockies and these areas. And then you're waking up to some winter weather advisories. Some snow is falling in like Green Bay and surrounding communities this morning, and it's warranted winter weather advisories. Let me know what you're seeing up here in Wisconsin. I would love to know. But then you got a lot of area of dense fog here in the gray. That is dense fog advisories. You ask Mitch, why is there so much fog out there? Well, you got a very moist air mass across the southeast, and basically where that moist air mass kind of meets the not so moist air mass, typically that's where you have the biggest difference of temperatures, and that is typically where you get fog. And that is the case. You're dealing with a lot of it in certain areas this morning, that's for sure. So even down here in Florida. So you got winter storm warnings up for a good portion of Maine and even a few counties in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and then even one county in the Adirondacks of northern New York State. So some heavy wet snow expected. Somebody could definitely get over a foot of snow from this. So let's go on and break it down region to region. The southeast today, I think we will deal with some rain showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder out here for sections of the Panhandle, northern Florida, southern Georgia throughout the morning hours, and even in South Carolina. We could get some heavy rain showers. By the time we get into this afternoon, could still be dealing with some lingering heavier showers, maybe even some storm activity around Jacksonville, Point South. Not a big deal, nothing severe. Could get some beneficial heavy rain around the Tampa Bay area, let's hope, because you guys are definitely dealing with drought conditions. But you can tell today not as big of a rain day as yesterday for certain areas. Still have the lingering flood watches up, but this will continue. Just kind of a cloudy, well above average temperature, well above average humidity day. It's definitely going to be one of those days where if it's not raining, you'll be outside. The gnats will be all over you if you stay in one spot for too long. It's definitely, I'll tell you guys, it always seems like early December in the Southeast is always well above average. I don't know why. It just always seems like I'm trying to think back to a year where it wasn't, but I know last year was too. So, but we know how we ended December last year. So, oof. But anyways, we continue to get into the overnight hours. There's not a whole lot going on. We're going to talk about this little system swinging through. This could provide some interesting weather for like Missouri into Illinois tonight into tomorrow morning. But this is just a little cut-off piece of energy that will fly through areas of the Midwest and then the Ohio River Valley into tomorrow. But we'll talk more on that here in a second. The Northeast. Big topic here. A lot of moisture surging in. This is just good old-fashioned rain from most of New York, New Jersey, Long Island. You're just dealing with a soggy start to your Sunday, miserable, rainy, southern New England day up here. It's just going to be raining all morning. But once you start to get in some of these higher elevations of Vermont, New Hampshire, the Green and White Mountains, the Adirondacks, this could be falling if some wet snow, and it could really be snowing in some of these areas pretty good, just your heavy wet snow. We're going to talk about these little storms right near here in a second. I want to focus on the snow, but there's those big time storms. I mean, they look like big time storms, but will they be? And we'll talk about that here in a second with a low right into here. But here it is. This could be a pretty decent snow event for up here in Canada. But snow is falling in Vermont and New Hampshire, mainly in the northern sections, central sections of the state, and more so the higher elevations, especially at first with this first push of moisture. Here it comes, getting to Sunday afternoon, begins to snow in a good portion of Maine. Some areas it'll snow harder than others. And then this system it could lighten up. And then here comes the upper level low that swings through right here. And there typically can be a lot of heavy precipitation with these upper level lows. This will kind of bring its own cold air, if you will. And I think that there will be some colder air in place. Therefore, areas of the Adirondacks will start to see more snow. I really think some heavy snow could fall. You guys up in the Northeast that tune in, Robin, everybody up here that tunes in, please let me know what you see from the system, how much snow you get. I mean, by the time you're getting into 11 p.m. tonight, I mean, it's snowing pretty good in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and then just the higher terrain of a northern New York State. But I mean, if you live in like Southeast New Hampshire, even in the lower elevations of Vermont, I don't think you're going to get a lot. I think the Berkshires and Mass could see a little bit of snow from this. But this continues, and I do think this could end as some snow even along the coastal sections of Maine that doesn't have any winter weather alerts. What's interesting is this could be a longer duration event. Okay, starts later this afternoon, lasts throughout the night. You're still snowing tomorrow morning. And then another piece of energy tries to get going tomorrow, and then you're left with some more snow. This will be an interesting system as we're getting into Tuesday into Wednesday, but this will throw in a period of light to at times moderate snow along the coastal sections of Maine tomorrow. We'll speak more on that here in the coming videos. But just precipitation between now and Monday morning, I mean, a washout for a lot of areas, guys. I mean, you're not going to get multiple inches of precipitation or rain, but definitely anywhere from a half inch to an inch of rain for a good portion. Find where you are on the map, and I mean, it's a good bit of rain today. It'll add up very steady, like, if that makes any sense. So here it is, snow expected. Higher terrain, more snow. Lower elevation, less snow. Southeast New Hampshire, not going to get much from this. You guys typically score on these nor'easter events when you have enough cold air, but not a whole lot in the mass, even in the higher elevations of Massachusetts. But the Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains, and then you get into Maine, a lot of snow. This will be a heavy, wet snow too. But if you look right here, it looks like the snow has really crept a little bit closer to the coastal regions compared to when we talked about this in last night's video. But certainly central and western Maine, good for 8 to as much as 13, 14 inches of snow with this event. Heavy, wet snow. You get into northern Maine, just a couple inches, and that's why you just have winter weather advisories. But this has increased for, the eastern sections of Maine too. So what I want to watch here is as this steady rain pulls out in Pennsylvania later today. Okay, we get into this afternoon. I want to watch these storms right into here. Okay, just north of Pittsburgh, maybe even Erie, and basically between Pittsburgh and Erie. I want to watch these storms. I think that these could catch some people by surprise today. I think that they could produce a lot of small hail, some gusty winds with a low right over like Lake Erie into Lake Ontario. Okay, and I think that these, could catch some people by surprise. State College, I mean, northern sections of PA, this will make it into the southern tier of New York, eventually into the Finger Lakes, and this will be some heavy rain. I think by the time it gets into New York, I think the severe threat really, really lessens, but you could get another round this evening that moves through. So the time frame is sometime this afternoon through this evening. I want to watch for these little rounds of storms that moves in. And yeah, I mean, if you're, in northeast Ohio, I think you could get into some of this too. So don't be surprised, guys, if you're in western PA today and you see some dark clouds, you're driving and you hit it and it starts hailing like crazy. I would not be surprised. A lot of cold air aloft. I mean, it's snowing right up the road here in southern Ontario. So there's got to be a lot of cold air aloft. And even at the surface, I mean, temperatures are going to be in the 50s. You're thinking, how in the world are we getting severe weather within the 50s? But it clears out, it's done. But definitely be aware of this in western PA today for sure. The South Central today, most of the area is quiet. The Rockies will continue to deal with some snow throughout the day, and then more could get going a little bit later this evening. But I really want to speak on this little system here in a second. But this flies into the picture into Missouri a little bit later today, into tonight, and then tomorrow morning. We're going to speak on that little booger right here in a second, okay? I got you covered. But let's speak on this snow for the north central U.S. first. It's snowing pretty good this morning. Waking up to a very snowy, kind of festive morning in Green Bay where you guys are reporting snow. Appleton was reporting snow. Milwaukee, just drizzle right now. It looks like you're getting some snow in Grand Rapids now, but down the road in Lansing, this is just rain. So not a lot of cold air with this. Somebody is reporting snow in Madison, Wisconsin. So let me know what you're seeing. This is not a blockbuster event by any means, but it is snowing out there. This will continue. I think snow will last through, the morning all the way into the early afternoon. Then it'll drift away. Snow will begin to fall in northern and kind of western sections of Michigan. And some of this could make it all the way up to the UP, but I don't expect much there. And then this drifts away. But let's talk about this little feature right here, a little cutoff piece of energy. And there will be a lot of these little pieces of energy. Here comes the next one that I think could deliver some northwest flow snow for the Appalachian Mountains, but we'll speak on this. But definitely waking up tomorrow morning to some snow moving through certain sections of western North Dakota. But snowfall from this, a couple inches of snow is possible, enough to warrant a winter weather advisory for areas of Wisconsin. Could get a couple inches of wet snow up here in northern Michigan throughout the next few hours. But let's talk about this little event. So this is Missouri right here, southern Iowa, areas of western Illinois. Okay, here it comes, flying into your picture, right? It's a little cut off upper low, and these things like to bring a little pocket of cold air aloft. So I would watch out, 10, 11 p.m. tonight, a little bit of snow, southern Iowa. This swings in. And watch out if you're in just some of the community, small towns in northern Missouri. You might go to bed tonight thinking, nothing's really going on. Then you wake up to a coating of snow on the ground. Watch out, Quincy. And then you're getting into, and it's riding sort of the Missouri-Illinois state line, and then this swings down into western Illinois. This could bring a pocket of heavy wet snow for a very brief period throughout northern Missouri, and then eventually into western Illinois tomorrow. And then we'll see if that remains a common theme as it continues to make its way east. But an interesting little piece of energy overnight tonight for Missouri and Illinois. And I mean, the HRRR model says, hey, you're going to get a few to several inches of snow from this little stripe right here. We've seen these things happen before. That's why I'm showing you it. So don't let this catch you off guard. Wake up to a surprise in this little area right into here. So western U.S. continue just to get a funnel of heavy moisture. This has just been a common thing over the last several days. So you'll get another push of moisture into Idaho. This system is a little bit warmer, but still higher elevation snow will continue to fall in Idaho. Extreme western sections of Montana, snow will begin to fall. And western Wyoming, we'll continue to see a little bit of snow in the Rockies of Colorado. And a little break, and then we'll wake up Monday morning to a much warmer storm as a ridge really begins to move in. So this is just good old rain tomorrow morning that you're waking up to, even for the Olympic Mountains. I mean, even some of the Cascades, just getting rain from this. This is a much warmer system moving in. But, you're going to get system after system, the early portion of the week, guys. And this is rainfall between now and Wednesday morning. Several inches of precipitation on the way for just the higher terrain, higher elevations of central and western Washington and Oregon. And I mean, yes, some of this will fall in the form of snow, but you can tell this is a lot warmer of a system, a lot warmer systems moving in, because you do have the ridge in place that's kind of bulging over this area of the country. But you look at the Rockies in general with this between now and Wednesday morning, and snow will continue to add up in the Rockies and just the higher elevations of Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, and western Montana, and then even in the higher peaks in Nevada and Oregon. But listen, a lot of strong winds out here too. There's a lot of wind alerts, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of strong winds with these systems that continue to kind of move in over the next few days. Temperatures well above average in the south. I mean, humid too, 60s and 70s. It's not like it's a crisp 60 or 70 like October day where a cold front just moved in. This is a humid 60 or 70 degree day, especially down here in Florida. We'll be downright just sweaty. Northeast hanging on to some chilly air, 40s, 30s, locked into the 20s up here in northern Maine, and a chilly day for the upper Midwest, the Midwest portion of the country. Just 30s for highs in general was the theme, 40s in other areas. Warm day in Texas, well above average. And, you're hanging on to some chilly conditions, but you're warming up in a lot of areas out here, but you're still not super warm by any means, still a little bit below average, but I do think you guys will get a warming trend over the next few days as a ridge begins to dominate the western U.S. So, guys, we got very detailed in last night's video, very detailed, but I'm going to give you some cut and dry information about some of the latest model guidance that we got from overnight. What is the latest Euro showing? What is the latest GFS showing with this system, I would say, that has the chance to be significant coming up. So let's start it off Friday, this coming Friday morning, all right? It's pretty quiet in the east, all right? There's a little system flying to the north, all right? Not really affecting anybody. But if you look down here, you look at the blue line, there's a big jet digging down here. Something is going on when you see that, okay? And here it is. It's a little different this time. No low pressure shooting across the middle of the country now. This is more so shooting across like the Mississippi Valley. Okay, you see the blue lines behind it? That is cold air trying to chase down this moisture. This to me almost looks like an antifront. An antifront means you got a big cold air push coming up and trying to chase down the moisture of a system that's right in front of it. And sometimes with an antifront system, you start off very warm, wet in the beginning portion of the system. Then you end with some snow, depending on where you are. This is really favorable for more so if you live west of the Appalachian Mountains. Okay? When you get east of the Appalachian Mountains, it doesn't work out very well. Okay? We'll talk about why at a later time, but for now, we'll leave it at that. Low pressure blasts through Tennessee. This is strengthening, begins, and if you're wondering what time frame we're at, just look up here because sometimes I get to talking a million miles an hour, and I forget to mention the time. But this is getting into Sunday night and Saturday night and Sunday morning of this coming weekend. Here it comes. Low pressure deepens into a 993 millibar low pressure over the Appalachian Mountains. Enough cold air catching up with this to where this is changing the snow in Indiana, areas of Ohio and Michigan. But look, it's trying to catch up with this for dear life, switching to snow in Kentucky. And then all of a sudden, we have a 986 millibar low pressure flying across western PA next Sunday afternoon. A week from today, back into this is changing to heavy wet snow. You're starting to change the snow in the southern Alps, the Cumberland Plateau. And this cold air is trying to catch up with this. Okay, I would argue this green showing right here is actually snow. But you keep this going, all right, this deepens into a sub 980 millibar low pressure as it moves into New York State. Okay, cold air chasing behind it. And then, man, this turns into just a monster storm. All right, so you say, Mitch, what does this mean? Well, if something like this was to happen, a couple things would happen. And this isn't a forecast. This is going to change many times. Last night, it had this low pressure right here, way back here. One thing that is certain, this would bring a lot of heavy rain. Number two, this would bring a lot of wind. When you have a deepening low pressure like this, okay, it's going to bring a lot of winds. A big time, expansive wind field at the surface and aloft, okay? So a lot of strong winds. Number three, you're going to have dynamic weather. Probably a rain change in the snow event for someone. Number four, with that dynamic weather, change in the snow, you could have a winter storm somewhere. And number five, you could probably have severe weather potential south of this low as this brings warm, moist air. So there's a lot of things that can happen. And one thing that concerns me is if you look at, let's see if we can do this on the fly here. And I am brain farting here. Let's see. Y'all stick with me. We got this. If you look at the vortices, right, and you look at this, we talked a lot on this last night, okay? If you look right here, there's a lot of energy in the atmosphere. Think of these vibrant, pretty colors you're seeing. There's a lot of energy. This starts off as a positively tilted trough, which means it's going like this, okay? Then, all right, let's get this back off your screen. Then this begins to get that kind of worrisome dig, okay? You see how it's just digging straight down like this? We call this a neutral tilt. And then what happens here? It gets that negative tilt. All right, when you have a tilt that's getting negative like that, we know that this is a strengthening storm system and likely dynamic. All right, so this is going to be a powerful storm system if it materializes like that. Okay, what does the GFS show? All right, here it comes. GFS takes this low pressure and ejects it across the middle of the country into the Great Lakes. Therefore, all right, not as crazy of a storm system for the eastern U.S. It would have to be something we would need to watch for the Great Lakes region, but what I want you to watch here is as this big punch of cold air comes in, we have a secondary low that develops right here. Look at it, and it's deepening right off the dot. As we're getting into Sunday, you got cold air coming in, crashing this rain and snow to West Virginia, the mountains of the Appalachian chain. I know some people say Appalachian. I typically say Appalachian, but you guys that live up there, please correct me if I'm saying it wrong. I would love to say it the way that you guys say it, that's for sure. But you got a 995 millibar low going across the I-95 corridor. Big punch of cold air behind this, changing rain to snow, and we have a pretty powerful system on this run too. So one thing that we know, guys, we know that the ensemble signal for this is pretty strong. There's the energy dropping down into the western U.S., digs down into the central portion of the country, and then after that, all we know is this blue area indicates storminess and low pressure. Low pressure, storminess, okay? And if you look at the GFS ensemble, same thing. Big blue blob indicates low pressure, storminess, okay? We got some type of storm system that we really need to figure out here. So that's all I got. We will continue to fine tune these details. This will be a heavy topic, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. But that's all I got, guys. God bless all y'all. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.